What's up, Sam?
Connor, how are we doing today? It's 2019.
I know, haven't talked to you since last year.
Golly. Wow, time's really flown, huh? Hasn't it?
I'd say so. One more year and we're in 2020, man.
I think one of my favorite tweets that I saw was crazy. Only 81 more years until the year 3000.
Oh, shit.
That's not true. That's not how time works. It's one of those things where you read it and then it was like, wait, hold on.
Close.
Only off by 900, but
almost there.
Boy, so what a whirlwind of a week here at the end of the NFL season, and we got college bowl games in full swing. Well, pretty much all done except for the national title game.
Yeah, kind of wild. I certainly didn't pay attention to the bowl games as much as I wanted to. I checked recaps and stuff, but for the most part, it was kind of like I checked the recap yesterday from that Georgia-Texas game.
LOL at Georgia.
Man, wild.
Should have been in the playoff, huh?
Yeah, they talked so much shit about that format, and then it was like, man, you guys got hooked.
Notre Dame sucks.
Guys got hooked.
Yeah.
That
can't even beat Texas.
Do you see that thing between the
Bevo and Uga?
Yeah. It's like that was like a perfect metaphor for like what happened in the game.
Well, it's hilarious too because Big Cat on Twitter was like, "Oh, hammer in Texas." After seeing that before the game started, Texas is not messing around,
and they weren't. Came out swinging, man.
Yeah, I watched like the first quarter of that game. I was like, man, Texas is back. Also, I think the Big Ten can count that as a win, right? Since Maryland beat Texas.
Yeah, I think so. Was Big Cat the one on Twitter that was doing the Big Ten tracker thing? Oh, Big Ten is 4-0 when you count,
if you don't count Purdue's loss to Auburn.
Yeah.
Big Ten West is 4-0 in bowl games where the other team was held under 50.
Yeah, that's it.
Something like that. Some
held
very
under 50.
arbitrary.
I like that.
Or the if Notre Dame beats Clemson, then this counts as a win for the Big Ten. But if they lose, no penalty.
Yeah, that one. Very one-sided. Yeah, so anyway, the regular season's wrapping up for college and National Football League here. So I just have a couple of takeaways here to share and some speculative things that I just kind of wanted to talk about, I guess. So the first one is the Minnesota Vikings. So the Minnesota Vikings lost to the Chicago Bears for the last game of the season, ending their hopes for a playoff run this year. I think they finished 8-7-1. And a lot of people were pretty surprised, I guess, because going into this season, they were being talked about as a team that was, coming off of last year where they went like 13-3 and, made an NFC Championship appearance. They were arguably one piece away from making another shot at the Super Bowl. And so they picked up Kirk Cousins in the offseason, got rid of Case Keenum, cleaned out their whole house of horrors of quarterbacks that they had sitting on their bench, and went all in on Kirk, $85 million contract. So this season obviously happened, and they didn't make the playoffs. So a lot of people are upset. I got friends that are calling for Kirk Cousins' head.
That's not going to happen.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think it should. So I kind of just wanted to break down what I think happened here. It kind of already happened, so it's just kind of like, dissecting some of this stuff, I guess. So
yeah, let's put a bow on the Viking season for us.
Exactly. So they entered the season. They began the season with the 28th ranked offensive line according to Pro Football Focus. And that didn't improve at all over the course of the season. So, that's a big part, I think, of where the Vikings weren't able to address some of the more fundamental problems that were hurting them last season. Even last season, their offensive line was hurting just as bad, and they didn't really address it in the offseason. They didn't draft anybody high. I don't think. I'm pretty sure not. Not certain on that. I don't think so, though. Anyway.
We'll go with no.
Yeah. So they didn't address it, which is a huge problem because and it's one that gets overlooked, I think, and because you can't really necessarily see that problem unless you're watching the game and you're watching film, because there aren't any real statistics besides maybe sacks or, if I don't know. It's a lot of like iffy stuff that can be dependent on a number of factors. So I'll just tell you right now, I didn't watch any sort of Vikings film, so I can't say this for a fact. But looking at some of these player ratings here, I don't think anybody on the Vikings offensive line finished above a 75 this year, according to Pro Football Focus, which is not good.
Is that out of how many?
It's out of 100.
75 out of 100.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, so not great. Can't do that. And so anyway, I think that's a pretty big problem. John DeFilippo was fired before the season was over. And so I think that digesting some of the information that I got just from Minnesota subreddit and from Reddit in general on the NFL subreddit, a lot of people weren't very happy with his play calling. And looking at some of the team statistics before I wrote some of this stuff down, the Vikings had, you remember how, we watched quite a bit of Packers football this year. Do you want to try to guess who had more rushing attempts between the Vikings and the Packers?
I'm going to guess the Packers.
The Vikings did by like 10 attempts. They were roughly the
they
same.
Had more attempts. Oh, that's not enough.
No. No, it's not.
So they're basically the same.
Yes.
So that's not enough.
No, not great. And in fact, the Vikings actually had more passing attempts than the Packers did by a pretty good margin. I think it was like, I don't want to try to guess. It was under 100, but is maybe like close to 50. Not sure about that either. But anyway, they had more passing attempts than the Packers, and I thought that was pretty wild because we watched Aaron Rodgers just take shots all day.
I don't know, not to actually here, but Kirk Cousins 606 pass attempts, Aaron Rodgers 597.
Oh.
According to Pro Football Reference, and that does not include pass attempts by DeShone Kizer, which I think he had more than 8 this year. Could be wrong.
Okay. What was that for Aaron? What was that for Kirk?
Kirk Cousins had 606 pass attempts.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers had 597.
600 what? I'm sorry?
606.
Okay. All right. So slightly more. Not a lot.
8 more. No, 9 more.
Yeah, not a lot.
Nine.
Not a good margin. So all right. Okay. All right. Yeah, so I guess looking at a couple of things there, the play calling, we were pretty frustrated watching the Packers this year. Not any sort of running game to, rely on, even though we have capable people to run the ball. I'd argue that I don't know, Aaron Jones is pretty damn good, but Dalvin Cook was a stud in his first year before he got hurt. And then this year he battled injury for quite a bit of the season as well. But it sort of looks like both him and Latavius Murray weren't really getting the ball as it was. So, I don't know. It's tough to say because of the injury situation that happened there. If anything would have improved, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's just everything I had heard. It seems like that mix of Mike Zimmer with Mike Zimmer and John DeFilippo, I think philosophically it seemed like that wasn't a good match to start with John DeFilippo coming over from Philadelphia, part of that Andy Reid, Doug Peterson tree, very much on the more innovative side of NFL offense, which consequently that's a lot of throwing, centered on throwing the ball. Where Mike Zimmer, former defensive coordinator, kind of old school, hard nosed, pound the rock head coach. So I think that was just not a great match, just from jump there. Philosophically, I think those two are very different. Obviously, success they didn't have success doing it. It'd be a lot easier to justify that to your head coach with a philosophical difference. If you're having a lot of success doing it, which obviously wasn't the case this year.
Yeah, which seemed kind of weird. I don't know. I think this is the part where a lot of people start to rag on Kirk Cousins a little bit because he had two wonderful options at wide receiver, Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. And I like to talk about Kyle Rudolph because he was a stud last year. He was an excellent tight end, and he sort of just fell off the radar this year. He didn't get a lot of attention. Not sure if that was a part of the plan and wasn't in John DeFilippo's offensive scheme. I don't know. No idea. But two guys that are arguably top 10 wide receivers, it's frustrating to watch the offense falter and sort of stammer their way down the field, even though they're getting a ton of passing attempts and nothing's really happening. We watched Adam Thielen sort of explode onto the scene for a good portion of the season. He was, arguably again, the number one receiver for a while. It certainly wasn't daily fantasy. I know, I paid attention to that. So yeah, I think I understand initially where some fans might be upset that Kirk Cousins isn't doing it. But I guess I'd argue that Kirk Cousins really wasn't brought in to be the gunslinger for Minnesota. Like I sort of saw Kirk Cousins watching him play over the last couple of years. I like the deal. I like the game plan for him. But I think people aren't really treating him the way that he's, or I guess what his role was meant to be in Minnesota. And that was just, a guy that's going to, he won't lose you games.
But he sure won't win them.
But he's kind of, he doesn't quite have that clutch factor. People always bring up that weird statistic where he's like 1 in like 1 billion in like primetime games or something, or like important playoff games maybe. I don't know what it is for sure.
Record against teams over 500.
That's a good one. Yeah, he just has like an abysmal record against teams like that. Mm-hmm. And it sort of shows, looking at the Minnesota Vikings like schedule, they really only lost to teams that are like good, except for the Bills game, which I'll just go ahead and, give them a pass on that one, because what the hell are the Buffalo Bills? I don't know.
It
just
happens.
Wild card. But everybody else that they lost to is like the Saints. They lost to the Bears twice. They lost to Seattle. They lost to the Rams. Like, they're all teams that are like in the playoff picture right now. They're all very good, very hot.
Yes.
So you look at it and it's kind of like, yeah, you all didn't lose the games that you shouldn't have lost, but you didn't win any of the ones that were going to be tougher. Like, looking at the schedule, you see that these are going to be tough games, and you didn't win any of them. So,
and that's why you end up at just about at 500.
Right. So
perfectly average.
Exactly. It's kind of expected, I guess. But I don't know. I don't think Kirk is necessarily the problem. I think that you could put a guy like Kirk Cousins back there when you have a tandem, like the best tandem in the NFL, and then a healthy Dalvin Cook. And, you should be able to make some magic happen. You should be able to turn out, a couple of games against some higher-powered teams like the Rams or the Bears or whatever. You should be able to win a couple of them.
And that's with that personnel. I mean, it comes down offensive line and scheme.
Exactly.
And like you said, 28th ranked offensive line. Yeah, that's not a recipe for success. Look what happened to the Colts. I mean, they were not very great, not very good with Andrew Luck when it was just Andrew Luck and a terrible offensive line. The last couple of years, they invest quite a bit of draft capital into the offensive line, and by gosh, they're good again. How did that happen?
Bada bing, bada boom. Andrew Luck hasn't been sacked in like 8 years. He actually hasn't been sacked in like the last like 6 games or something, or 4. I think it's 4.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
This game's not. This game isn't hard. It's not that complicated.
No, but anyway,
it can be if you make it.
Yeah, it can be. I don't agree with people wanting Kirk Cousins out of there. Like, I don't know. What do you do? Who do you move to? Who's your quarterback then? Case?
Oh, right. Yeah, the reactionary move to now get rid of Kirk Cousins, that's insane.
Stop.
And here, just food for thought. Kirk Cousins this year had a 70% completion percentage, 30 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Had a quarterback. Where is it? Had a QB rating of 60.6. That is total quarterback rating. Case Keenum, by comparison, only had 18 touchdowns, so that's 12 less. He had 15 interceptions. That's bad. That's pretty bad. Quarterback rating of 47, so.
Not good.
Case Keenum is not the answer.
No.
Overall, you came out ahead here.
Yes.
Now, if you want to make the argument that for the price, all that guaranteed money that you're paying, maybe. Probably not, though.
Yeah. He was certainly a hot commodity in the offseason. So I don't know. I don't know what you do because QB contracts are sort of just moving in that direction, but it's kind of just like, I don't know if you could have gotten a better deal out of that because, teams were certainly trying to convince him to join their squad, but I don't know. I think it's fine. It's super overblown. People think Kirk Cousins sucks. I don't think he sucks. I think he's fine. But
right, they went 13-3 last year. They were due for a regression,
no doubt. With Case Keenum, no less. It's like you managed to milk a great season out of Case Keenum. Like he's not. I think the best is watching the Minneapolis Miracle when he tosses the rock because that shouldn't have been like a good play. Like, that was a pretty prototypical Case Keenum play. We're going to throw it to the boundary, but, like, it's way too high and, like, way too long to get there. Stephon Diggs has to jump way up and get it. He should have been tackled inbounds, like, easily. And, the Saints just, like, cucked themselves and blah, blah, blah. The rest is history. And so, but I thought it was pretty much, like, I watch it when it comes up, and it's like, you know what? Like, that's Case Keenum for you, though. And it's like, that's totally him. I don't know.
Yeah, like not to be that guy, but this is revisionist history thing. But the Minneapolis Miracle was not a good play.
No, it was not.
It was It was not a good play. It was a noteworthy play. It was an exciting play, but it wasn't good. It was just a heave ho by the offense and just bad defense.
It was entirely bad defense. Like, it was not like the offense. Like, if they would have made that tackle, the game's over. Like, Stephon Diggs didn't even have time. He shouldn't have had time to get out of bounds or anything. Like, he is way in the air. The hang time was like a billion seconds. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I don't want to shit all over it because it means a lot to Minnesota, I guess, but.
Yeah, whatever. It's like the same as the Derrick Henry 99-yard touchdown this year.
Oh my god,
it's cool. It's a cool play and it's fun, but it's bad defense. It's just bad tackling.
100%, man.
Not to take anything away from Derrick Henry. I mean, he still had to do it, but
Derrick Henry ran fast on that run. It doesn't look like he's running fast, but he's fast. It was like 25 miles per hour.
He can move.
Yeah, he just is fucking huge.
Big guy.
It's scary. Looking at that, like, that. I don't even know what his hairstyle is, man. His hairstyle is wild. It's like a branch sticking out of the back of his head. He's running. It's just sticking straight out. It looks like a dragon or something.
Man, do you ever look at, like, Melvin Gordon. Like I think it was one of the games when he was injured and wasn't playing. I'm like looking at him like, man, you have so much hair.
Yeah, he has a lot
How
of
do
hair.
you wear a helmet and play football?
I don't know. Like when he puts his hair up, it's like it's still all like, man.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. His hair was up. I'm like, what are you doing? That's crazy.
It takes a long time to grow, man. Don't ever cut your hair.
Oh, I can't do that.
Anyway, all right.
I thought about trying to convince my coworkers I was Jewish just because my hair is really curly.
You thought about trying to convince them?
Or just telling them, just lying to them. I didn't.
Very small payoff for that lie.
I've been thinking about that. Maybe I should just lie about myself more when I meet people, just for fun. I can create this character and be whoever I want.
Yeah, all right.
Anyways, that's. I'll work on a backstory.
What would your alias be?
I've thought about this and I haven't come up with a good one.
You have to come up with a good one. Like the Michael Vick thing.
What was the Michael Vick thing?
The Ron Mexico.
What? I've never heard this.
Oh man, that was when it was a big thing when
Mexico.
he allegedly gave a girl herpes and he went to go get tested for STDs under the name Ron Mexico, and it got out into the media. So a bunch of people ordered these custom Atlanta Falcons jerseys with his number and then Mexico on the back. And so they had to ban him because this was like a big deal because this girl was like suing him for not telling. It's like really, I mean, like a pretty like douchey thing to do to somebody, really awful thing to do to somebody. But it was like, man, like what is that name? Ron Mexico.
Jeez, that's I never heard that story before.
Yeah, that's the tale of Ron Mexico.
That's not as good as Tony Plush though.
Tony Plush. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Man, Niger Morgan was wild. he was legitimately crazy. Yeah. Anyway, all right, back on football.
I just thought of another one. This is a guy you won't even know. It's one of Melanie's friends. When anytime he got drunk, he turned into Cowboy Rick.
Dude, was that the guy that visited us?
Oh, it might have been. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Oh, I don't remember his real name.
I don't either. Eric, maybe? I don't remember. He definitely visited.
I think you're right. It's because I'm like Snapchat buddies with him for some reason.
Yeah, I remember this because I thought that was super weird. Anyway, all right. Next team to talk about here at the end of the regular season, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I really don't have a lot to talk about here because a lot of the stuff here is just rumor mill bullshit. But after the last game, Tom Coughlin announced that the Jacksonville Jaguars had voided the rest of the contract guarantees for Leonard Fournette because he wasn't him and what's his name, the backup running back,
TJ
Yeldon. They both looked pretty apathetic on the sideline, I guess. I don't know. It's tough to say because it's like, I don't know, they look like a couple of guys sitting on the bench. But he got into a number of fights this year, some skirmishes, wasn't very healthy, possibly had a bad attitude. I'm sure Tom Coughlin has a decent reason for it. So anyway, they voided these guarantees, and they're moving on from Blake Bortles this next year. So I guess with all of that considered, I mean, people have been starting to talk about if the Jacksonville Jaguars would trade Leonard Fournette. And I just think it's kind of interesting. To be honest with you, I don't think it happens because it's like, why would you let go of a guy, like a workhorse running back that's on his rookie contract, to roll the dice, I guess, on some picks or something. Yeah. I don't know.
you're never going to be able to recoup what you spent on him in terms of draft capital.
No, I mean, exactly. Whether or not you agree that the Jacksonville Jaguars should have drafted Leonard Fournette is completely pointless at this point. It's too far gone from that decision to be factoring that in at this point. So, I don't know though, because it's just kind of tough to say. I mean, the offseason is long and a lot of things can happen, and I mean, I don't know. Any given month you can have some sort of drama, stupid thing.
Yeah, like, okay, so let's say you trade them away for picks or whatever, and then they're also expected to move on from and not re-sign TJ Yeldon. All right, so you're down your top 2 running backs. You got Carlos Hyde or Cordy Grant.
Right.
Okay, fine. And you have somebody playing quarterback. Yikes. I think he's just too talented, I think, to move on from him from, all things considered, it seems relatively tame.
Yeah, I don't know what you do there. There's too many running backs, man. I forgot about Carlos Hyde, honestly. TJ Yeldon, Corey Grant. Yeah, I don't know what you do there. I think you just kind of got to stay the course and fix the quarterback problem. Draft a wide receiver, perhaps.
Perhaps.
Maybe one.
No. Defense.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You keep pouring money into that defense.
I'm going to trade up and pick Josh Allen.
Oh, my God. Don't have enough defensive pieces here.
They're going to be like the Bears from like the early 2000s where it was... Well, did you listen to there's the Barstool or the Pardon My Take year in review thing, and they talked to Charles Tillman from those old Bears teams, and he was like, yeah, Lovey would come into our meeting rooms and be like, hey, we need 2 touchdowns from you, the defense.
Oh,
that's on you guys. You guys have to win this game.
Ugh.
And they did quite a bit.
Man.
So that's what probably what the Jaguars are gonna be. It's gonna be offense has the ball, just like second down, just punt. Just punt and play defense.
Get some defensive turnovers here, some puntos.
Get a better shot of scoring on defense.
It's kind of sad.
We're on the 30. Just kick the field goal on first down. Let's cut our losses here. Take the points.
Man, it's kind of sad, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what you do there. I don't know how you fix that. To be honest with you, I don't even know what happened in Jacksonville. They were so bad. So I don't know. Tough to say. So I'm not even going to try to dissect that. Moving on to this next team, though. This is another team that's been in the headlines recently. Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Pittsburgh Steelers missed the playoffs. And immediately not even following the season, Antonio Brown didn't even play in this last game. It was a must-win game. Antonio Brown did not play. So everybody was kind of like, what's up? What's going on? And so the last day or two, he's been ranting on social media, saying all this stuff. He hates Ben Roethlisberger, blah, blah, blah. Wants to be traded, whatever. I don't know how much of it is real because, just want to, direct you to this link that I have of somebody who cataloged all the incidents from just this year. He has 18 stories from this year that somebody wrote an article on something. 18 times. Number of things happened this year. I don't know, Antonio Brown is a diva. He's, arguably the number one. I use that word a lot, but he is possibly the number one wide receiver in the NFL. So I get it. He has a personality and he knows it. I think that's what happens when you get on the cover of Madden. But man, he's got a laundry list of bullshit just from this year. And so I don't know. It's tough because I don't think this means anything. I really don't. I think it's just Antonio Brown being Antonio Brown. But I guess the biggest takeaway from all of this is like listening to how Ben Roethlisberger responds to all this stuff. Like listening to how Ben Roethlisberger responded to Le'Veon Bell and how he responds to this. Like Ben Roethlisberger, I think I concluded this after watching the 2004 draft recap video where Ben Roethlisberger is on the bus and he is like the prototypical football just asshole. He's like making fun of Eli Manning. Eli Manning's sitting by himself trying to sleep, and Ben Roethlisberger sitting in the back of the bus on the way to the draft, and he's like, you know what? I know for sure I'm not going to the Chargers. And he's just like saying this stuff, and like he's peering over at Eli Manning, who's trying to like sleep on the bus, and it's like, man,
Definitely doesn't want to go to San Diego.
yeah, he's like, well, we weren't able to get Eli to come out with this because this kid doesn't want to have any fun, and it's like, oh my god, like I don't even you haven't even done anything yet. You were a quarterback at Miami of Ohio, and you're like a total asshole. So anyway, listening to how he responds to the sort of adversity that's happening with the Steelers organization, he's super dismissive, and Ben Roethlisberger himself was a little bit of a diva when Mason Rudolph was drafted. And the year before, I think he threatened to retire at one point after that game where he threw like 5 interceptions. He's like, I think I might be done. He wasn't. Newsflash, he wasn't.
I kind of forgot about him threatening to not going to play this year.
Yeah, and then they drafted Mason Rudolph, and he's pissed off about it. So it's like,
wonder
yeah,
why.
right, whatever, man. He said his piece about Bell, and then with this, the Antonio Brown stuff, he's sort of acting the same way, where he's like, I don't know, he's going to do what he's going to do, but if he wants to come back, great. So I don't know how you necessarily navigate that in a better way, but I don't know, man. I think Ben Roethlisberger sucks.
Yeah, I was kind of toying with this idea a little bit. The take that I've had on the Buccaneers pretty much all season was, blow that whole thing up. I don't think the Steelers are there yet, but they're getting close. For the next year or two, that thing is going to come crashing to the ground, and you have to blow the whole thing up. I don't think they're there yet, but no matter what, I think once Big Ben retires, there's going to be some pretty lean years in Pittsburgh. I don't think they have anybody on the roster. From what little I've seen of Mason Rudolph, I am not confident that he's going to step in and be an Aaron Rodgers to Ben Roethlisberger's Brett Favre.
Yes. I agree. Regardless of if somebody likes Ben as a person or not, you can't really argue with the fact that he's a great quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no doubt. So yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be tough following what happens here. Because at some point, sooner rather than later, AB is going to leave the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger is going to leave the Steelers.
Lev Bell's already gone.
Lev Bell's gone.
So it's going to be James Conner and Juju and a quarterback.
Right.
Somebody.
That offensive line is, holding it together, honestly. They're all so good. I think 3 out of 5 of the starters made the Pro Bowl, which doesn't mean anything, but, they are still really good.
Something.
Yeah.
It's not nothing.
Correct. That wasn't a good way to phrase it. It doesn't mean nothing, but it's still pretty remarkable. It's a pretty fucking good offensive line. So anyway,
sure.
I think if once that falls apart, if anybody gets hurt or if anything happens to any of them, if any of them want more money, it's like, I don't know. I don't know what happens there. I think people start getting through the offensive line. I think the team sucks more.
Mm-hmm. And just draw another comparison. I feel like what's going on with the Steelers is maybe similar to what the Packers could be going through, where, boy, the end of that championship window, so to speak, is closed. You know, it's been open for a while. Looks like there's some cracks in the foundation possibly. It could be coming to a close soon. Now, I'm pretty optimistic about the Packers moving forward for the next couple of years, but once Aaron Rodgers is gone, the Packers are going to be bad for a while. And that's fine. I think that's what's going to happen in the AFC North with the Steelers. And similarly, we got the Bears this year who, you know, really made a huge jump from being from worst to first in the division. Look a lot better with Matt Nagy as the head coach. I mean, that's pretty much what I think a lot of people are expecting that from the Browns moving forward with the amount of talent they have in that team and the how pretty decent they looked this year once they moved on from Hugh Jackson. So AFC North and the NFC North, I think, are kind of similar in that regards. We're going to go worst to first teams pretty quickly.
Yeah, a lot of teams that made a lot of huge changes.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I guess that's all that there is to talk about that. Moving on to some fired coaches here. We don't need to talk about. I really don't have a lot to say about these because I think we talked about it in one of our previous installments here.
We got most of them right.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I know we were a split decision on Vance Joseph. You were on the right side of history for that one.
Yep. I didn't know if Adam Gase would get fired, but here we are.
Consensus among all our media brethren was that's the more surprising one. Him and Steve Wilkes. Steve Wilkes, just since he was a first year coach.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that one snuck up on me too, but they were bad.
Yeah, they were awful this year. They number one pick. They get Zion.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was a mixture of people claiming that they'd be interested in the head. I think right around the time when I heard that there was a lot of interest from Mike McCarthy to the Cardinals is right around when I started hearing that still like Steve Wilkes was in danger of losing his job. So yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's stuff going on behind the scenes that led to that decision, but yeah. So here we have Todd Bowles, Marvin Lewis, Adam Gase, Dirk Cutter, Steve Wilkes, Vance Joseph, Hugh Jackson, Mike McCarthy. So I got a couple of important coordinator fires here that happened, or mutually parted ways, I guess. Steve Sarkisian, Keith Armstrong, and Manuel. I could find
Marquand Manuel,
that guy.
Defensive coordinator.
Yeah. Everybody except for Dan Quinn was fired, and Dan Quinn has assumed defensive coordinator duties for the Falcons. I think this was the right move. The Falcons were another team that were bad for really puzzling reasons. Like their defense, I get it, was bad because they just lost 1,000 people. Like they lost a lot of people really early on. So I guess, you know, you give them a pass maybe for being a terrible defense. But their offense was just – it hasn't quite been the same since Kyle Shanahan left. And I think it's pretty frustrating to watch Matt Ryan and the Falcons in general just get to the red zone and
It turned into almost like a meme. Like anytime they got in the red zone, they would not score a touchdown, and it's amazing. I can't wrap my head around it. How you can you have Matt Ryan, a former MVP, and Julio Jones, and you can't quite put the puzzle pieces together to put the ball in the end zone once you get close. It seems so simple, and somehow Steve Sarkisian broke it.
Bad.
So that was pretty predictable that he was going to be gone.
I agree.
Yeah, Marquand Manuel getting the axe might have been. I don't know. That's not really giving him, I think, a super fair shake.
But I don't know what you do.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Jim Bob Cooter mutually parted ways with the Detroit Lions. I guess. I don't know. People seem to have different takes on him as an offensive coordinator. Troy Lions were bad this year. I don't know what you do.
I don't know. I have no take.
No, not at all.
I have a great name though.
I agree. Very good name. In Jacksonville, the running backs, defensive backs, offensive line, and defensive line coaches were all fired. That's probably a good call.
And their offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, he was fired during the season, if I remember right.
Yep. He was, I think the deal there was Doug Marrone was given like an ultimatum, I think.
We'll go with that.
I think that's what happened there. And it was, you either got to fire this guy or we're probably firing you both. So yeah, he got fired. I don't know. He didn't seem very happy about it. But I don't know. The offense was bad. So yeah, I agree with this whole cleaning house thing. Running backs coach probably, you need to whip those guys into shape. You need to be better than that. You need to not be punching people. Defensive backs, I don't know. There's
got to get Jalen Ramsey to play the right coverage, to play the called coverage.
Jalen, I need you to just listen.
I need you to run the defense that we're running, please.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know about their offensive line, defensive line. No comment there. But yeah, there's a lot of attitude problems that weren't checked very well, and so yeah, fired. Coaching candidates. What do you have to say about this?
Well, all I have to say is I love it. My favorite is seeing all the tweets and all the reports of this team is interviewing this coach. It feels just like a mock draft. So like leading up to the draft, between now and the draft, you're going to see a bazillion drafts from anybody and everybody.
I just got a notification actually that the Saints offensive coordinator Pete Carmichael Jr. will interview for the Packers head coaching job.
Oh, golly. Well, and just like a mock draft, all these interviews don't mean anything. Everybody's interviewing everybody, and it doesn't really matter until you actually pick somebody. Like the draft. These mock drafts don't mean a thing. Yeah, so it's really dumb when people get all bent out of shape that, the Packers interviewed Chuck Pagano. Yeah, I don't know. Who cares? Doesn't mean anything. They're also interviewing lots of other people. So.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. You learn a lot through an interview, man. I think that was something that somebody pointed out is, it's just as important to find the traits that you don't want in a candidate as much as finding the traits that you do want in one.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So, yeah, I'm all for interviewing as many candidates as possible, and then having your best informed, making a very well informed decision based on all your options, leaving no stone unturned. So I don't care, but it is kind of fun. Like mock drafts are fun to read because it's something to talk about. Just like these interview requests and interviews that are conducted with coaches. It's kind of fun, but it doesn't really mean anything until someone actually gets hired.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting just to see who's going for what and who's talking to what people. Sometimes it's interesting to rehash some old names like Chuck Pagano and Jim Caldwell. Jeff Fisher. Yeah, to rehash these guys and, they were a coach for sure. So I don't know. I think it's fun, to look at all these people and figure out what they're doing.
My favorite is, I know, so the Packers are interviewing, is it Brian Flores, the Patriots de facto defensive coordinator?
Yep.
And, they're bringing him and Josh McDaniels both on Friday. So they're coworkers, and they're both interviewing for the same job. That seems, I don't know, it just seems weird.
Power play.
It seems awkward. you go in there. Oh, who's going to be on your assistant coaching staff? And it's going to be like, all the same guys that that Josh McDaniels is going to have.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to do. I don't know. Probably not, but it just seems. Do they take the same plane? You'd think so, right? I don't know if they're being interviewed in Green Bay, or if they're going, or if the Packers staff is going out to Boston. But is it like one guy's in the interview and the other guy's sitting with his suit and tie on out in the hall with his resume, like
just getting
a
little
notes. I don't know,
a little clammy.
And then one guy pops out, "Oh, good luck in there."
I like to think they have it like that, where it's just it's one single room and they have one chair set up right outside the door.
Yeah,
it's not like a nice waiting room; it's just one chair.
And he's like, "Oh, and there's like a secretary." He's like, "Oh, can I get you a glass of water?"
Yeah, exactly.
and then they're gonna go in there and it's gonna be like the Miss America or the Miss Universe pageant or something, where they're both on stage and, "Oh no, I really hope you win." No, I think I really want you to win. Really, neither of them are probably going to get the job. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that.
I have no idea.
Maybe they'll be co-head coaches.
Wouldn't that be something? The Packers take a progressive approach.
We'll take it. We'll take the lot.
We're going to take everything you do and cut it in half.
Yeah, just basically do what you do in New England already. Except you don't have Bill Belichick to oversee the whole thing. You just kind of do what you do already.
You don't have Bill Belichick.
Mark Murphy will be Bill Belichick.
You know what? How about you just be the offensive coordinator?
We'll have no head coach. It's what is it in Monty Python? The
whatever syndicalist.
Yeah,
where everybody is the leader at one point by vote.
Yeah, every 2 weeks somebody else as head coach. They rotate the position.
Well, there you go. We're gonna have you as a coordinator, and we're just gonna go back and we're gonna alternate games. Mm-hmm. We could take the Patrick Coughlin approach. We'll evaluate you through the course of the season and decide if you're a good head coach.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I always wondered about fired coaches, so when you get fired. I assume it's like when you get fired from a regular job and they give you like a box to pack up your stuff at your desk. And I'm sure they make you turn in like the playbook or I don't know
your iPad
building. Yeah, your key card to get into the building. The one item that I'm most interested in is, do you have to turn in the red flag? Is that a standard issue? Like, is that a team owned? Somebody owns the challenge flag.
I mean, probably don't get to keep it, right?
Is it? I don't know. Is that like just real small minutia that really just interests me about NFL coach? It really doesn't matter at all.
I mean, I don't know. I understand that there's like equipment managers whose job it is to clean out these lockers after this happens to players. But like, I kind of want to know how it went down after that Cardinals game, because Mark Murphy pretty much was like watching up in his box and then took the elevator down after the game was over. Mike, your ass is grass.
Mike, can I see you in my office, please?
Pretty much. It's like when it happens that fast, it's like, oh, man,
Mike, we're just gonna make this quick and easy. We're gonna relieve you of your duty. We are going to move in a different direction as head coach. We're gonna need you to turn in your red challenge flag, please.
The first thing.
Where do they store the red flag during the week? Is that like a thing that he just keeps in his desk, like in a drawer?
Do you think he keeps
it? And when it's game day, he gets there and he just grabs it and sticks it in his pocket? Or is like that the equipment people handle that?
You think the equipment people would handle it? I don't know though. Some of the equipment things are really puzzling, like the thing that Chong pointed out with the Gatorade. They're just pouring the Gatorade into the
Oh,
bigger
yeah, they're just taking
bottles and then pouring the bigger bottles into the big coolers.
Yeah.
The way he was narrating it was great. He's like, I like to think that they shipped them, and they were like, no. The 12-ounce ones were supposed to be blue, and the 16-ounce ones were supposed to be red. Pour them into the coolers. So I don't know. Maybe that's what it is for the challenge flag. Like, there's a keeper of the flag, and
how many challenge flags are there? Because he has one on game day, but they got to have like backup ones, right? In case he loses it, or
right. I don't know though, because I remember watching some clip of one coach and he was trying to throw the challenge flag and he lost it.
Well, wasn't that like Jeff Fisher who like lost it in his coat
I think
somewhere?
it was Jeff Fisher.
Definitely Jeff Fisher. I think he lost it like in his jacket. He couldn't find it. Like he had it. He just didn't know which pocket it was.
Oh God!
which that really, like, when you think about it, it's like, man, that whole like ritual of, all right, to challenge a play, I have to take this red piece of cloth and throw it onto the field. Like that whole, I don't know, that whole mechanics of challenging a play with the flag seems really
it's
silly.
pretty archaic, especially in the grand scheme of like you have to make sure one of these officials sees it, and you know you can't just like hit a button on, like, you know, in the day and age that we live in right now. Like, really, there should just be like a, you know, offensive coordinator radios down to the head coach. Yeah, I challenge that. And then they push a button and it just lights up a thing, or, you know, something.
Yeah, or I don't. Well, it's like a timeout. So you don't have like a timeout cloth. You just say, "Hey, timeout," or
Right.
And then you put your hands. You make the T with your hands.
Yeah.
Like, make a C with your hands. Say challenge. That also seems. I don't know. There's.
Make a
It's
C.
all dumb. Oh no. I was thinking a C with one hand where you just like kind of curl your fingers. No, even better, you make like a C from like the YMCA where you make the big C with both arms.
Has to throw like the clipboard on the ground and everything. He's running at the refs with the C from the YMCA.
C.
Okay. All right.
And there's one other real small kind of odd thing I was thinking about today. So Mike McCarthy was fired a couple weeks ago already. So I saw a tweet from Rob Demovsky today, ESPN.com beat writer for the Packers. And something where it was like, well, Mike McCarthy, I think he was going to interview with the Jets and the Browns, and something where those would be good. Something to the effect of those would be good fits for him because his wife, who's a Green Bay native, and their two sons are going to high school in Green Bay, and they want their intention is for them to finish high school in Green Bay here. So that means that Mike McCarthy's still in town. He still lives here, which just seems really weird.
Be kind of weird to catch him around town.
Well, exactly, because like, you know, it's one thing if you see a player around town, because since it is a relatively small town compared to all other pro sports markets, but
right.
That's really seems really awkward though. If he's like, you can't really do anything. Everybody knows who you are. You can't like go to the grocery store, especially now because like you're fired, and then now it's like super awkward. Just kind of hanging out. I don't know why. I just had it in my mind that he like left. When you're fired, you just disappear and you don't live here anymore.
Usually that's what happens with players.
Yeah.
Well,
because they're all from like Florida or Texas, or a lot of people are California.
Right. Like, who wants to stay here?
Or if they're fired in like a major market, like it's a lot easier to be anonymous in like Chicago or Atlanta or New York or wherever, as opposed to
Green Bay,
Wisconsin.
Man, that'd be wild. You'll have to be on the lookout for him.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I might start trying to do that. I'm sure there's a subreddit for stalking NFL players.
And Mike McCarthy. Mm-hmm. Well, let me know if you find him.
I kind of want to know where any of these guys live. Like, do they live in Green Bay? Do they live? I guess this really nice neighborhood, like up along the east side of the bay, where there's like all these bazillion-dollar houses that are like on this bluff overlooking the bay.
You can't find that out?
I don't know.
What? You can't find that out?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I haven't looked.
Can't find it on Zillow?
Well, those are houses that are for sale.
Oh, let's see. All right.
Oh,
Quick
let
Google,
me look here.
Google search here. Where does Aaron Rodgers live?
Where do Green Bay Packers live? Maybe I'll just get a map to a link. Let's see. What rookies do for fun in Green Bay? No. Haha. Where do most Green Bay Packers live? The majority of the Green Bay Packers can be found within the cracks of your foundation. What? Primarily scurrying behind the walls of homes that haven't been tended to in quite some time. Usually they'll disperse when you turn the lights on, but that rarely gets rid of them permanently.
What are you talking about?
This is something. Somebody posted a question for this, and then this is some guy who posted a bunch of bullshit here and then tagged it with Go Bears. So this is a guy just trolling like a message board. Oh, Anonymous said most of them maintain homes in Green Bay.
Okay.
Cool. Great. Oh, with a concentration of them in a single apartment complex. Ah. So there's a hotbed for them.
Ah.
Ooh, they try to show some level of privacy so the players can live normal lives. Yeah, fuck that.
I mean, realistically, you'd think that a lot of those younger guys would probably live in a nice apartment complex and then they have a different house wherever they're from or wherever they want to train, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what I imagine the case is.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess that doesn't really matter. I'll have to do some more research into that and do some stalking in the off season here.
Definitely let me know what you find.
I was really hoping that somebody was going to be one of my neighbors, but I don't live in a swanky enough place for NFL players to live.
Not yet.
Not ever.
Don't say that.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Okay, moving on. Playoff picture here. I really don't have any hot takes on this playoff picture because these all seem like great games to watch. Eagles versus Bears, Seahawks versus Cowboys, Colts versus Texans, Chargers versus Ravens. I put who I kind of thought was going to win in these games, but I don't know, man. I think all these are kind of toss-ups.
Oh, yeah. I like the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Colts, and the Ravens, who are just because those are all the teams you didn't pick.
Okay. Great.
No, but in seriousness, I think I don't know. The Eagles are very interesting to me just because Nick Foles he's done the Undertaker thing with the Eagles basically, where he just sits up.
Yeah, he's revitalizing that offense one drive at a time.
I don't get it, but
after playing not very well at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I don't understand it, but we saw this movie last year, so I'm not I'm interested in what they're gonna do.
Okay, I have a question for you. If Nick Foles leads the Eagles to another Super Bowl appearance and wins the Super Bowl, what would you do with that situation in Philadelphia?
Is he under contract?
No, he's free. He's free next year.
Oh God!
So what do you do there? Do you try to trade Carson Wentz? Do you try to trade Nick Foles?
Well, you'd have to resign Foles.
Oh right, can't trade him.
I think you let him walk.
You think so?
Well, because you still have Carson Wentz on a rookie contract, and to resign Nick Foles, he's with in this hypothetical situation where he's 2 Super Bowl rings. He's going to be pricey.
2 Super Bowl MVPs.
Yeah. 2 Super Bowl receiving touchdowns.
Yes.
I'd let him walk still. I think you're still set up for long-term success with Carson Wentz.
Yeah, that's probably the right call.
That's tough.
Right? Isn't that like it'd be great to win the Super Bowl again, but like what an awful situation to be in.
Didn't they already put up a statue of him running the Philly special?
I don't know if they did. They probably did.
I mean, boy, how about that?
I mean, can you imagine like the guy who led you to 2 Super Bowl wins and then you let him go? Like that's unheard of.
What he did last year, just 1 Super Bowl was unprecedented.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, here. How about this? Even better. He wins 2 Super Bowls. Is he a Hall of Famer?
Oh shit.
Also, keep in mind he tied the NFL record for singles for passing touchdowns in a single game back in like 2011.
Oh my god.
So he's also got that.
Ugh.
Probably not, but boy, it makes you think, doesn't it?
It really it creates a lot of tough questions for him and his whole legacy. I don't know.
I want it to happen. I'm all for it. I want this really weird situation to happen.
Man. Yeah, I kind of do too. I don't think
give me Eagles Patriots 2.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't even be mad. It'd be so funny to watch that go down.
Philly special every play.
Every single one. Yeah, I don't know. It's really the only that one. I mean, they're all good games, like I said. But I don't really have a horse in the race here for any of these guys. Chargers versus Ravens rematch is probably my second most interesting game here. Just because the Ravens pulled off a tough upset, I think, with the last game. Everybody was sort of counting them out because saying that their offense is predictable now. They have film on it. Lamar Jackson can't throw the ball.
After watching that the Brett Coleman video where he pretty much gives you the blueprint for how to beat the Ravens or what they're doing on offense, albeit that was the week of the Chargers games, and then he's like, yeah, the Chargers are going to win this game, and they didn't. But I think you can't. It's really what I want to say. There's a ton of value in having for the Chargers on their behalf playing this team again, getting them a second time. Being able to have that experience where I think that's a thing that I think comes up a lot that analysts bring up is that, well, you can't simulate in practice the speed of a player like Michael Vick, for instance, or Lamar Jackson fits into that mold where it's really, I mean, you can scout all you want, but it's really tough to simulate game speed. So having that experience in live action against that team, I think that's going to help. Also being familiar with the scheme. And that's something I think Tony Romo brought up on the Ravens Browns broadcast this past weekend was the fact that this offense is so much different than anything anybody else is running in the league that, like, yeah, coaches may know how to stop it, but the players executing that, your game plan can be great, but if the players executing it aren't, locked in or aren't used to looking for, aren't super confident in their assignments, it's going to be tough. So, again, just a long-winded way to say that I think Chargers, having played them once already, I think that's going to greatly benefit them playing again. Also, Chargers are 8-0 on the road this year.
Wow, that is something. Whew.
Well, actually, you could make the argument that what's the Chargers record?
They have 12 wins?
Yeah, they're 12-4 on the road this year.
You could make the argument.
Because, they're basically playing road games at home.
Yeah. But okay.
Whatever.
Yeah, so, I don't know. That's the number 2 game for me. And, yeah, I agree with the points that you made. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see when they get a second shake at it and to see if what's going on with Lamar Jackson here is a fluke, if it's, he's somehow magically developed over the course of like a couple of games. They were another team that it reminds me a lot actually of the Nick Foles situation where switching quarterbacks has completely changed what that offense looks like. For very different reasons, but they both each had us like this this I don't know what I want to say here. This spark that was pretty unlikely, I'd say, for both teams to kickstart their season and to shoot them into the playoffs. But here we are. So we'll see what happens. Colts versus Texans, Seahawks versus Cowboys. I don't know. We'll see what happens there, I guess.
I like the Colts in that Colts-Texan game.
You think so?
What do we talk about at the top? What do we talk about at the top of the show? Offensive line play.
That's true.
Texans offensive line. I don't know what they're ranked, but it's not good. And Colts offensive line is good.
They are good.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Also, when I was watching that the Titans Colts game, I was watching that and I realized I have no idea what Frank Reich looks like.
You don't?
Until they showed him on the screen. Well, I didn't. Until they showed him on the screen. They did like a split screen thing with him, and then on one side Mike Vrabel on the other. I'm like, yep, that's Mike Vrabel. And I look at the other side, I'm like, I have no idea who that is, but it's Frank Reich because that's his name on the screen. I thought I knew what he looked like, or I had his image in my head of what he looked like, and that was not it. This grizzled, bearded man that with glasses on, he looks like he's, wearing his dad's shoes at the grocery store.
I think this doesn't relate to Frank Reich at all, but somebody pointed out that they were like, Andrew Luck definitely calls T.Y. Hilton by his real name, Eugene.
Yes, I agree.
Oh, heck, that was a great catch, Eugene. And a real story that came out, I was reading about this a little bit, and apparently a real thing that happened when they were both rookies was Andrew, he would point out the cool architecture of the Colts stadium, and T.Y. Hilton was weirded out by it. Thought he was a weird guy because he thought the architecture of the stadium was so cool, and he made a point to share it. Oh, heck, Eugene, look at how intricate the stadium's built. Pretty weird.
Look at these Look at the patterning on the truss, on the sport trusses and the rafters. Really evokes themes of 19th century industrial revolution America.
You're weird. Oh, gee, thanks, buddy. Thanks, Eugene. I didn't realize T.Y. Hilton's real name was Eugene until today.
I did not know that either. Speaking of things that weirded me out on the Colts, did you see Adam Vinatieri's beard?
Yeah, he looks old with that beard.
Oh, he looks 60 years old with that. Who wore it better, that Adam Vinatieri's beard or Lovie Smith's?
Oh, man. Lovie Smith's beard was pretty good.
Both the same color.
They both age like 20 years when they have it, yeah. There isn't a single bit of color in that.
Oh.
Yeah, I did.
That's pretty cool.
It's I think it's great watching him trot out there with that thing, though. It's like, yeah, like 1,000 years old.
52-yard field goal.
Yeah.
Still got it. I love the NBC. It was like the kick tracker thing where it's like, it shows you like the ball speed and the launch angle and all that stuff, and like gives you like, when it goes in, it's like, this kick would have been good from 61 yards. It's like, that's cool.
Yeah, I actually really like that too. It's kind of interesting to watch. Because some of these kicks, it's like, oh man, that would have been good from. It's kind of wild when they have some of those deeper kicks, and it's like, that would have been good from 61 or something. It's like, oh.
Actually, you can actually get a good feel for what a kicker's range is.
Yeah. Kicking, man.
Yep.
Somebody was talking about that with the Pat McAfee when he was analyzing the Packers. I didn't get a recap of how he did as an analyst. But somebody was pointing out that it would be interesting to have somebody like him up in the booth just so that you can analyze things and actually talk about things like kicking and punting from a more, like a stronger base of knowledge than the regular old boys that talk football, because it's like, I don't know, here he's lining up for the kick. And, you have a guy, though, that can talk about the stuff like, so what needs to happen is they, need to snap it a certain way, or, it's good that he's on this hash because he kicks well from, that angle or whatever. I don't know. I don't really know anything about it, but just having somebody to talk about something, it's kind of like having Tony Romo up in the booth where he can, it's cool when he gets excited and points out these things that are going on.
Well, absolutely. I know that was one of the things listening to Pat McAfee's podcast. Then something he complains about is, we got a bunch of dummies in there calling these games. They have no idea what's going on fourth down. I think he made some comment where it was like somebody was talking about getting laces out for field goals for the holder. It's like everybody thinks that's the holder's job, is to spin the ball and get the laces facing away. Well, it's actually like the snapper's job somehow.
Oh,
I don't know how, but whatever. I don't know. I have no idea about that stuff. There was something, I guess, when he did the college football game. I think it was Baylor, Texas Tech, like around Thanksgiving. And there was something where he saw, I was like, oh, hey, old Cuzzy here. He like mishit a punt. It was supposed to go one way. They all he's like, oh, well, if you look here, they're all lined up this way, and the coverage team's doing this, but the punt goes over there. So that's a mishit by this guy, and that's why there's a big return that got set up. It was something like that. That was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's more in depth than any punt commentary I've ever seen ever.
Yeah.
I was always wondered, like if I ever could ask him a question, I would ask him about like you see it all the time in college. Like most college teams, when they punt, they do that weird like spread formation and they have like the three protectors just kind of back there in front of the punter.
Yeah.
Like, what advantage does that have? I know Wisconsin doesn't do that. Badgers don't do that. They punt like in a traditional punt formation. And I have no idea what the advantage is one way or the other. There has to be some sort of advantage or benefit to doing it one way as opposed to the other, because, the NFL does it the same way, basically, with the normal traditional punt formation. No one's ever trotted out and the spread them out formation with three protectors back there.
Right, as that weird little stopgap. The oh shit button.
I would be curious what he, as a professional punter, would say to that. So. Someday I'll DM him or something.
Just keep sliding in the DMs. Keep tagging them.
One tweet at a time.
All right. Well, I guess the last thing I want to talk about here before we wrap it up is the free agent list. The free agent list has changed a little bit since we last discussed it, actually, which wasn't that long ago. Changed a little bit, though. There's people on there like Kareem Hunt and Nick Foles and Clinton Dix again, who are kind of new additions here. Maybe in a more attractive position than previously, but that they were when we first looked at this. People like Frank Clark, Earl Thomas has sort of been not talked about because it's been a few weeks now since he was injured. So I don't know. I don't really have any warm takes on any of this because free agency is just, I don't know. It's also
ways off yet.
Yeah. There's the season is still obviously happening, so you need to take that into consideration. But the whole free agency as a whole is just this whole weird thing that I think a lot of people think of as like Band-Aid solutions to a team. Like, our secondary was bad, so all we got to do is go out and get Earl Thomas. Or all we have to do is go out and get Landon Collins here. And that's not how that works. And it's not a sustainable way to promote success on a team when you're just fixing the problems that you have in free agency. But I thought it would be interesting to just sort of look at this from the Green Bay Packers perspective, because looking at some statistics here, the Packers do have some cap room going into the 2019 season. They're about $37 million. But the thing that I thought was interesting, though, is that they have most of their core already under contract for the upcoming season as well, with 49 people under contract. And a couple of interesting people that are possibly more likely than not departing the team, with Clay Matthews and Randall Cobb. And I put Mo Wilkerson down here just because he was kind of an interesting person on the team. So it's kind of an interesting position to be in. It's a chess game, and I'm not really sure, because we don't really have a decent sample size of Brian here yet to see how exactly he is. He's certainly more aggressive, I think, than Ted Thompson is, but we've only had him for a season. So
yeah, and it'd be tough to be less aggressive, more conservative with free agency than Ted Thompson.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think it'd be kind of interesting. So, I guess I wanted to ask you, if there's one position that the Packers, if they picked one position to go after in free agency for aggressively, what do you think it should be?
I'd probably say safety. Shore up the back end of the secondary. I think you have some real promising up-and-comers at corner with Jair Alexander leading the way. Josh Jackson is an interesting prospect. I think he hasn't played great, but he's played. I don't know. I think there's still some potential he has. If Kevin King can stay healthy, it'd be interesting to see what he could develop into. He's just been injury prone here the first 2 years, unfortunately. But yeah, that after trading away Clinton Dix middle of the season here, what really had been plus injuries in the secondary. In the end, specifically safeties. Yeah, shoring up the safety position, I think, would be priority number one to address in free agency, that is. Since Josh Jones has been not very good, and I don't think Tramon Williams is absolutely not a long-term solution.
No.
Sticking him back there, or any other guys that have occupied that position. So, I mean, the safety class is pretty interesting. With Earl Thomas, Landon Collins, Clinton Dix. I think we'd probably cross him off. I don't think the Packers would go out and re-sign him. Tyrann Mathieu and LaMarcus Joyner. So, I mean, there's 4 guys, not including Clinton Dix, that are, I don't know, they're guys. I would think that Earl Thomas's best days would be behind him at age 30, coming off a major injury here. But Tyrann Mathieu and Landon Collins, I guess Landon Collins more so, just because he's a little younger and has been pretty good with the Giants.
And they're cleaning house.
Yeah, so.
Yeah,
that's a name that jumps off the page at me a little bit, that gets me a little excited here.
Yeah.
Either that, or the other position I'd say would be pass rusher.
Yes.
And those are the guys at the top. And those are going to be the hot commodities, I would think, here for everybody else in free agency, with DeMarcus Lawrence, Trey Flowers, Dee Ford, and Jadeveon Clowney kind of leading the way. But so kind of under the radar guys with Frank Clark and Brandon Graham. So I don't know. There's people out there. Ziggy Ansah. I don't know. One of those guys would be something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's pretty much exact. I had those both those positions down on here when I wrote this. I sort of said it before. I guess I phrased it in such a way that it was. I said something along the lines of "you can't fix your problems with free agency," but it's not entirely correct. Because it's not what I entirely believe either. It's I very much. I think I read an article on. I think it was Bill Belichick, how he chooses to approach the draft and free agency. You fix your critical areas with free agency, and then you use largely a best player available system when you go about the draft. with, obviously tweaks and turns in there for specifically what you're trying to build with your own team, without trying to boil down the process too much. But I agree. I think that the safety position could be shored up quite a bit by adding a veteran presence there, specifically Landon Collins out of these top 25 free agents moving into the 2019 season. Like you said, he's only 26, which is pretty young for a guy that's considered a vet here, and a guy that's proven to be a pretty solid. I think is he a free safety?
I don't know.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. We need both. So,
Right.
like the Packers they are so depleted at safety, and so I adding anybody, like I think it's a position that I would rather see the Packers try to offer somebody a solid contract rather than trying to gamble here with the crop of the draft. I think that there's other positions that you can address a little bit better by using the draft. Some things that I think that I'd like to see the Packers go after in the draft are things like you mentioned, a pass rusher. I think that's definitely an area that the Packers need to find some sort of depth at, because it was depleted, not quite as much as the safety position, but it certainly showed when we were having Kyler Fackrell and I don't even know who else out there.
Reggie Gilbert, man.
Reggie Gilbert, yeah.
Preseason superstar.
Exactly.
Regular season guy.
It's okay.
Fine.
Yeah. I'd like to see them. Yeah.
And to go back to what you're saying with taking a gamble in the draft, at the safety position, I think really you should do it both ways. You should get a veteran in there and then also take a stab at the draft.
No doubt. There's a lot of rounds, so I'm not saying don't draft anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that if you
you just need warm bodies back there, basically, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what they have now, and you just need a step up from that, and that's fine. Yeah, you can go about it both ways and attack it. Two-front war on the fixing the safety position.
No doubt.
So
I wanted to see them draft offensive line people, actually.
Oh, I was just going to say that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We tried last year, but the guy, I don't really blame him. Cole Madison was out of Washington State.
Did we ever find out what was going on?
Yeah, man, actually I did. I did some more research, and he was roommates and best friends with the Washington State quarterback that killed himself. And people, this is rumor mill bullshit. Some people were saying that it was his weapon in their room that he used. I don't know if that's factual. It could very well not be. But regardless, he did live with him, and he was his friend. So I imagine that was, super tough, because that happened, and then the draft, the combine, draft, all that stuff just happened right after. So I don't know. I totally get it that he wasn't up for football that season, if ever again. So that's what happened there. But yeah, to move away from that, I think the Packers should try to fix that offensive line, and we need some sort of depth there. And I think that rather than paying out the ass for an offensive line free agent, you can find a guy that's better than Byron Bell, probably.
Yeah. That's the nice thing with, I don't know the nice thing, but if you draft a tackle, a lot of the times if you draft a college tackle, if he doesn't work out at tackle, you can usually move him inside to play guard and make him a serviceable guard. With a very, very broad stroke of the paintbrush there. So I don't know. I think the Packers have typically done that. They've done a nice job of, I think the phrase they've used, cross-training guys, being able to play multiple positions on the offensive line. So if it doesn't work out at tackle, I mean, there's a chance that you get a serviceable guard or something out of them. So I think just having more guys there is like what we talked about at the top of the show. I mean, that 28th ranked offensive line for the Vikings, that's kind of what bit them in the ass this year. I mean, they got a serviceable quarterback at worst. And they have the top tandem wide receiver duo, Dalvin Cook. We've gone over that. What's left? Well, it's the offensive line, right?
Yeah, the trenches, man. They need to be good.
So people are tired of Aaron Rodgers taking sacks and not throwing interceptions. Well, you get him a better offensive line, he won't take as many sacks. I don't know. No, he probably still will because he'll pull on the ball.
I don't think I'd be mad if we took a top-tier prospect at offensive line.
Oh, absolutely not.
I wouldn't even be mad.
It's not super exciting, but
no, it's
cool. It's what you got to do.
Yeah, man. I mean, you watch people like Quentin Nelson and Mike McGlinchey with the Niners. Like, they completely turn that team around. But, I mean, right, you don't see them, making sacks or, doing cool
Scoring
stuff.
touchdowns.
Yeah, but, quarterback doesn't get
kicks. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. None of the flashies, none of the cool stuff. But you need it. You need a guy to do that. And, I mean, we already have two solid guys with Corey Linsley and Dave Bakhtiari. Brian Bulaga is in his heyday. I'm convinced he's
in the twilight. Yeah, in the twilight of his career. He was a good pick, solid pick.
Absolutely solid player. I mean, still even a contributor this year, but he's just. I mean, there's only so many times you can line up and do the whole thing.
Well, he's been injured quite a bit, right?
Yeah, I mean,
bunch of stuff. So I mean, he's been a real trooper for that, but that's a losing battle here, especially as he's getting older.
No doubt. So, yeah. So anyway, that's all I have to talk about. I really don't have anything to say about free agency quite yet. It's a little early to talk about it.
Yeah, free agency's fun. This whole offseason is pretty fun with coaching search, and then we get free agency, and then we get the draft, and it's all exciting time.
Well, the offseason just got so much more exciting for us because now it's a lot more involved.
Yes. Get this new coach, and we can. I mean, I swear to God, if the Packers pick the right coach, they can be good immediately.
No doubt, the pieces are there, man.
They're not that far off. I mean, we talked about off the air before we started up here, but I mean, we looked at looking at their schedule. I mean, they're very much in that Rams game. They were very much in the Patriots game. They tied against the Vikings. So, I mean, they could have won that game and lost that game. The Detroit game where Mason Crosby missed 10 field goals.
Right. That doesn't happen. We win the game.
The Seattle game where they punted on 4th and 1 with 3 minutes left. So if we just be a little more 21st century here in how we handle fourth downs and stuff, and run cool plays.
Waiting for that article that says Eric Bieniemy is requested to interview.
Did you see the Jets interviewed him?
I did.
Don't steal my boy.
I think somebody else requested him too. I don't remember.
He's a hot name that's come up. You know what name that's really died down quite a bit?
Who?
Who's the Iowa State coach?
Oh, nuts! I forgot his name.
Or, yeah, right. Matt Campbell. Is that him?
Is that? I think it is.
Maybe. Or is it Matt Rule? He's the Baylor coach, right?
Yeah, not him.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't need to talk to. I don't want to talk to those guys.
Yeah.
Or do. I don't care.
I liked your reaction to Pat Fitzgerald at the Packer game.
Oh, yeah, after Northwestern won the Holiday Bowl. Yeah, Holiday Bowl, next stop, Super Bowl. That's the next bowl game he's going to be coaching in. Probably not. Hopefully not.
Probably not. I think him and Lincoln Riley, I don't think Pat Fitzgerald got a contract extension yet, but Lincoln Riley did.
That was, that's absolutely, he's not leaving. And I don't know why you would. Why would you, if you're Pat Fitzgerald, you've been at Northwestern, your alma mater since, 06?
Right.
So, and you got a pretty stable program. They just built that, like, I don't know if you've seen any of that new football facility that they built right on the lake. That's super bougie, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Why would you leave?
Exactly.
I wouldn't.
He is saying that he won't, and I know that's what coaches say, but yeah, given his history, I don't see him leaving either. Northwestern just won the Big Ten West. They played in the Big Ten championship.
They were in that game against Ohio State too.
Yeah, they were in it. So I don't know why you'd leave a program right at, the first sign of progress. Not that they haven't seen any sort of progress lately, but a great year for Northwestern.
Well, I don't know. It's like the stock market, man. Buy low, sell high.
Yeah, that's true.
But that whole and a coach in the NFL is a completely different animal, man. Where the job stability is so much not as stable.
Well, Steve Wilkes.
Yeah, dude got axed in 1 year.
Goodbye.
So, man, if I was a successful college coach, no way am I leaving.
Absolutely, 100%. All right, I think that's it.
There's somebody else I wanted to talk about. Some other coach, not Lincoln Riley. Yeah, I guess I don't want to talk about anybody else. Oh no, Urban Meyer.
What about him?
I know he's got to teach a class at Ohio State, but about leadership or whatever. Any chance he's coaching the Packers next year?
No. I think he's gonna do his administrative thing at OSU.
Did you watch any of that Rose Bowl yesterday?
No.
I watched most of it. Yeah, whatever. But the post game, they're interviewing Coach Urban Meyer, and they're just like, "Is this your Urban? What does it mean to win the Rose Bowl in your last year like this?" Or something. I don't know what the question was. Something like that. And he's like, "Yeah, well, it's been a really, really interesting year with started the year off with that stuff in the summer." And it's like, yeah, that stuff in the summer,
that hot jazz.
Just that's a very that's one way to put it, I guess.
That stuff.
Gloss over it. Yeah, you get it.
Man, that guy. That stuff.
That is literally his quote. He just called it that stuff.
Ugh.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's time to step away. Probably.
Oh, you have any hot UCF takes after the defending champions lost to LSU?
No, I thought it was kind of, I don't know. LSU was talking a lot of shit after the game, but I don't know. It was kind of like
UCF was in it, man.
Yeah, they were fighting.
Boy, UCF did some dumb shit in that game.
I mean, it's tough. Yeah, they fucked up, but they also didn't have their starting quarterback.
Passes. Yeah, and then counterpoint, the LSU had like 9 guys not playing on defense.
Yeah.
So, okay, we'll call that a wash. But UCF had so many drop passes. It was unbelievable.
They're good, man. UCF is good. Just, LSU is a little better.
Yeah, UCF is good. They're not national title good.
No. They just got, it's tough because they did the whole national champions thing.
I love it.
Just sort of paints a target on your back.
Just we need more weird stuff like that. I like there's the article you sent. We were talking about playoff scenarios, and I don't know who was it that wrote that article about every like possible playoff scenario or playoff format where you have you go back to 2 teams at the BCS or 4 teams, 6, 8, 16, 64, like all those.
All these wild ones.
And I liked at the end there's like everybody's in the tournament. Okay, so that works, right? Or there's the other way where it was between 1890 and 2001 where it was nobody's in any tournament. It's just kind of you can decide that you're the national champion. There's like, however many years where there's multiple teams that claimed a national title.
Right.
Which, cool. I like that, the Wild West way to do it. Just anybody can be national title, being a national champion if they want.
You can put it up in your stadium.
Yeah, we're and I didn't realize it before reading that the college football playoff is not actually a sanctioned NCAA event.
Yeah, I actually didn't either. That was what I was about to say, was that was the most interesting part of that article, was that I learned that, and that's why UCF can do whatever the hell they want, because the NCAA doesn't actually relegate anything with the college football playoff.
Or the BCS. Or it's like it's the only sport that the NCAA governs that they don't do that. They do not declare a national champion in some way, which is really weird.
Right.
It's like the NFL. Could you imagine if the NFL did that? It's like, yeah, we're going to play the NFL football season, but
then there's the playoffs.
The playoffs are just its own thing that is sanctioned by like a different governing body.
Right.
It's like it's like golf, where you have the PGA Tour, but like the U.S. Open is the USGA. It's just a completely separate governing body.
Yeah, that'd be kind of weird and messed up. I don't know.
Okay, you play in the NFL, but we're gonna play in the XFL playoffs this year.
Man, what if these different splinter cell groups start to gain traction, and all of a sudden
Jerry Jones is still pissed at Roger Goodell for how he handled the Ezekiel Elliott suspension situation last year, so he's going to defect from the NFL and go join the XFL.
The Dallas Cowboys are now the XFL.
Man,
that'd be wild.
That'd be cool. Hey, next week we're gonna have to go over Alliance of American Football League rosters and coaching staff.
Absolutely. I actually want to do some research on these different leagues, because they are coming up all over the place, and I want to know what each of these is. I don't know any of the differences really between these leagues, or what exactly they're trying to do. So
I always like reading the rules change, the small rule changes, like, oh, there's no halftime, it's just one 45-minute game, or you can't punt, or you always have to go for two, or just like a bunch of little things like that. Oh, you have 4 timeouts instead of 3.
Yeah, that'd be wild. Just it's like the game, but it's not.
It's the same, but it's different.
Man.
Well, it's like college football, where like, well, you only have to have 1 foot in bounds for it to be a catch, or every play is a booth review, possibly. Pass interference is 15 yards instead of spot of the foul.
If you kneel for the anthem, you get shot.
Yeah.
What are the rules? But we'll talk about that next week. We'll get into that. The meat and potatoes.
So there's a teaser for you, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Follow us on social media. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Patreon. Especially the Patreon.
I forgot it. It's the most important one.
Most important one.
Subscribe. Click the bell.
Ding, ding.
Where some of our Tundra compatriots are listening to the podcast. Thanks for listening.
Appreciate y'all out there.
We'll catch you next week.